Well, what is the GOP reaction? Joining us now, Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas. He is also a medical doctor. We're pleased to have him back with us here on Fox Business. So, Congressman, what exactly is the president doing to win over the vote of Congressman Stupak and the 10 other Democratic congressmen?
You know, you'll actually have to ask them. I know there are a lot of moving parts in this debate. But look, if the president had those 10 votes, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. We'd be over on the floor voting right now. As soon as they get those 10 votes, forget what they said last week about 6 more weeks for the Republicans to come up with alternatives. It's now all an arithmetic problem for them. If they get to 216, 217 votes in the House, the Speaker's going to bring up the Senate bill and pass it on the floor of the House. I think that's a bad idea. I think her members will suffer as a consequence, but they've outlined that as the most direct line to get something done, and that's what they're going to do.
Well, speaking of arithmetic, let's find out how the math plays out as far as cost cutting in this plan. From where you sit as a medical doctor as well as a representative, is there anything in here that at least marginally brings the costs down?
Not from what I've seen on the Senate bill, and remember, that's what we are discussing, that very bad bill that was bought and paid for with special deals right at Christmas Eve and has languished since that time. There have been some talking points that have been put out since then about possibilities of what a technical corrections bill might resemble and what they would have to do to pass that under a reconciliation process. But honestly, it's the Senate bill right now. They'll get that passed, and then they'll worry about whether or not they can do something else to it. Cost cutting, when you expand Medicaid to the numbers that they have done, this is going to be a big burden on states, which is why the state of Nebraska wanted some help going forward with the federal match in Medicaid. It's understandable why they would feel that way, but unfortunately, as we saw around Christmas time, this bill has nothing to do with health care and everything to do with political ideology.
Now, we remember the deals that took place around the Cornhusker deal and the Louisiana purchase and so forth. There is some talk that those deal-making sessions are still going on, that in fact Congressman Jim Matheson's brother just received a judgeship. Of course, the congressman is sitting on the fence, and the question of whether or not this judgeship was offered to kind of bring him over on the president's side. Have you looked into that or other questions about deal-making going on right now?
Well, I just learned about that this morning. If it's true, it's extremely disappointing. Mr. Matheson has been a pretty solid no. He's on our committee, and when this bill was brought through committee, he was a solid no. He was a solid no on the floor. So, yeah, it is surprising now to hear him marked in the undecided column. And if the other stuff you say is true, well, that's troubling also, and I'm sure it will trigger some additional looking into.
You do have some Democrats reaching across the aisle here. As we spoke right here on Bulls and Bears yesterday with Representative Bart Stupak, the Democrat from Michigan, he said he would absolutely love to have some Republicans involved in this. He does get the sense that it's just not going to happen, in part, of course, because of the way things are being run on the Democratic side, but also because he feels that some Republicans are making it awfully difficult. What do you say to that?
Well, Mr. Stupak work together on the subcommittee on oversight and investigations in our Energy and Commerce Committee. We work well together. He knows we can talk about these issues anytime. Look, the problem is not what's happening now. What happened a year ago when there was a real opportunity to make this a more open and bipartisan process. We were told we were unnecessary, that the other side had won the election and the mandate was pretty clear, and they were going to do what they intended to do, and we'll see you later. Now, here we are a year later. The Democrats do not have popular support for their bills. The president does not have popular support for his bills. And as a consequence, they can't get it passed. They then point to the Republicans as obstructionists, but quite honestly, the debate is entirely within the Democratic caucus right now. And it's an arithmetic problem for them. As soon as they solve it, we'll see the bill on the floor.
Michael Burgess, thank you very much for coming in. Good to see you again, Dr. Congressman.
Good to be with you guys. Thanks.
Well, he made his